I'm going to read in different videos The Vengeful Djinn by Rosemary Ellen Guiley and Philip J. Imbrogno, because for me personally, I think it's one of the most important books to describe the events of our time. I think it all boils down to what's in this book, and I know some people maybe can't afford a book, some people don't have time to read, some people just prefer listening to things while they're doing other things. I'm similar, but I think this needs to get out there, because once you know the veil is just gone. You can see everything in light of this. You'll know some of it. You won't know some of it. You'll have, excuse me, you'll have discerned some of it already. You'll have maybe read this, but this is for the people that haven't. So, The Vengeful Djinn, unveiling the hidden agendas of genies. So the back. The truth about a race of beings that you thought only existed in your imagination and your nightmares. If you fear one thing in life, fear the jinn. This groundbreaking book presents the findings of Rosemary Ellen Guiley and Philip J. Imbrogno's investigation into the powerful and mysterious interdimensional beings known as jinn or genies. It reveals what the jinn are, where they can be found, and their hidden agenda against the human race. Going to put my glasses on. Should have done that at the beginning, really. Reading. Working with material compiled from a variety of sources, including their own case files, Middle Eastern law, the Quran, teachings of Islamic scholars, and the latest theories in quantum physics, the authors explore the relationship between the jinn, demons, fairies, shadow people, and extraterrestrials. They discuss the military's interest in these clandestine beings, offer eyewitness accounts of modern human encounters with the jinn, and reveal the location of interdimensional entry points in North America. What I would be saying at this stage is go and take a look at L.A. Marzulli's channel. It's very Bible based, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. He's starting to do testimonies from people that have experienced things like this, and there's some amazing footage of portals and things coming through portals and God knows what, and it's becoming more and more seen, I suppose. And also I always forget his name, Mr. BBB. He's the one that does like the space weather, and he does all the things in the sky. After I've talked about this, I'll put their links in the description, because he's always done like strange videos of strange things in the sky. He gets people from all over the world sending him stuff in, but even he's saying this is becoming more and more. He puts it down to people having smartphones, etc. I don't think it is. I think this stuff is starting to show itself, and you can't deny some of what L.A. Marzulli says. It does say that in the Bible, but it says it in other texts as well. So this book tells us what they are, in my opinion. So it says also on the back, Rosemary Ellen Guiley is one of the leading experts in the paranormal and supernatural fields. I think she's passed away now, unfortunately. She has written 45 books, including 9 encyclopedias, as well as hundreds of articles. Rosemary makes numerous appearances on radio and in documentaries, and is frequent guest on the radio programme Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Philip J. Imbrogno has researched paranormal phenomena for more than 30 years and is recognised as an authority in the field. He has been interviewed by the New York Times, appeared on Oprah and NBC's Today Show, and has been featured in documentaries on the History Channel, A&E, Lifetime and HBO. So let's get stuck in. So it is for John Keel, who established a path into an unknown land so we could all follow, explore and learn. So opening words. Our research and exploration of jinn not only required an in-depth study of legends from many cultures, but also quite a number of books on mysticism and magic. The correct spelling of the word jinn, translated directly from Arabic to English, is D-J-I-N-N. Western readers may be more familiar with the commonly used phonetic spelling J-I-N-N. Throughout this book, we have used jinn, so with the D, as the preferred spelling in order to conform as much as possible to Arabic translations. During our research, we spent a considerable amount of time reading several English versions of the Quran. Although all the translations are similar, they are not exactly the same. According to Abu Dhabi, in his book Basic Principles of Islam, the many versions of the Quran in English and other languages are the result of the different interpretations by translators. Now, I'm going to get these names muddled up because I'm not familiar with these Arabic names, but don't worry about it. This is why most Islamic scholars, such as Muhammad Fahid Karim and Muhammad Karim Rajeh, insist that all readings of the Noble Quran must be done in its original Arabic form. It is astonishing to discover that no other religious work in recording history can match the Quran, in that it is recited the same and has remained unchanged for the past 1,400 years. When Muhammad died, there was no singular codex of the Quran. No collection of his revelations in final written form existed either, because even while he was alive, new teachings were added to the earlier ones. Companions who memorized his teachings passed on the information orally to students. Early Islamic teachers in the 4th Islamic century decided to write down completed versions handed down from 7 authoritative readers, which in turn created 7 basic texts in Arabic. All 7 versions are basically the same, but with minor variations in phrasing. For the research in this book, we use the Abu Bakr Asim reader version of the Quran. This is the predominant reading used today by many Islamic, African and Middle Eastern countries. Although we were not able to read the original Asim version of the Quran in Arabic, its teachings and historical information in the English version still made considerable sense to us. We both found the Quran a wonderful book of information and spiritual teachings, and we highly recommend its reading to all persons, regardless of religious background or philosophy concerning life. The Quran, like many great religious books, is a guide concerning spiritual awareness and ascension to a higher plane of existence. Preface. The jinn, called the hidden ones in Middle Eastern lore, are aptly named. This mysterious race of beings has remained cloaked in shadows for centuries. Created out of smokeless fire, they have powers and lifespans that far exceed those of humans. Their shape-shifting abilities have enabled them to hide in plain sight the world over, either as the unseen or in a host of paranormal guises. We are interacting with them, whether we know it or not. Our awareness of otherworldly realities is rapidly expanding via both paranormal experience and science, and we need to know about the jinn, who comprise a major part of the picture. My serious interest in the jinn began some years ago during my explorations of the paranormal and occult. I had, of course, come across them in childhood when I read Middle Eastern folk tales about the wish-giving genies, such as the famous tale of Aladdin and his magical lamp in the Book of 1001 Nights. Within the confines of folk tales, the genies were intriguing but seemed relatively harmless. They were mischievous tricksters who had to be dealt with carefully. Aladdin used them to his favour to gain riches, but in other tales people did not fare so well, making wishes that genies granted in peculiar, distorted and even cruel ways. The saying, "be careful what you wish for," takes on a heavy importance and entirely new meaning when dealing with the jinn. Years later, when I was well into my career researching the paranormal, the genies cropped up again, this time as their proper name of jinn. Despite the recognition, their identity was blurry in Western interpretations. Works on angels and demons sometimes cast them in the same light as demons, beings with supernatural powers and dark evil nature. I sometimes found them to be completely equated with demons. Clearly they were something else in their own right, but their true nature remained hidden. I included brief descriptions of them in some of my books, most notably the Encyclopedia of Angels, the Encyclopedia of Demons and Demonology, and the Encyclopedia of Magic and Alchemy. The desire to explore and reveal the hidden drives my works in the paranormal. I have never been content to focus on any narrow field or topic. My interest and curiosity have always cast a wide net. The work I do now, full-time since 1983, was sparked in childhood by a combination of a voracious reading appetite, a fascination with mythology, folklore, the supernatural, science fiction and fantasy, a sprinkling of psychic experiences, a passion for astronomy, and an intense desire to understand the big picture and write about it. All of these things seemed naturally connected to me, and as I grew up and delved into my paranormal research career, those connections became evident in new ways. The paranormal revealed itself as a vast and fluid field, a constantly shifting kaleidoscope of interconnections and patterns. Pick up a thread anywhere in the paranormal: angels, demons, fairies, extraterrestrials, shadow people, mysterious creatures, psychic experiences, visionary encounters, and so on, and it will lead you to everything else. Sooner or later, the paranormal transformed into the mystical, where we confront all of the big questions about the meaning of everything that humans have grappled with over the centuries. Our encounters with paranormal phenomena are subjective, filtered through a looking glass of time periods in history, cultural backgrounds, religious and spiritual views, and personal beliefs. Yet if you trace the supernatural experiences of people throughout history, you find consistent patterns lying beneath the surface, hidden from plain view. It has always seemed to me, as it has to a great number of other explorers and researchers, that there is something else behind our experiences, perhaps something that can explain them all, or at least shift us into a clearer view of them. Thus we come back to the mystery of the jinn, the hidden ones. Are they an integral part of what lies concealed beneath the paranormal? We can make a strong case that they are. My plumbing of the dark depths of the jinn began in earnest several years ago, after I reconnected with Philip J. Imbrogno. I had first met Phil in the early 1990s in the course of my interest in ufology while living in New York and Connecticut. About a decade went by and we reconnected on one of Phil's guided trips to the stone chambers in New York, which he had been exploring in depth as a result of his research into the Hudson Valley UFO wave of the 1980s and beyond. Like me, Phil had been following his own threads of interconnections. His excellent presentation of the interconnections is in his book, Interdimensional Universe. In catching up on our respective work, it became evident that we had been pursuing both the same and parallel paths, and that, as Phil put it, we held some missing pieces to each other's research. We began some collaborative work regarding the stone chambers, paranormal hotspots, and high-tech spirit communication. Our far-ranging discussions hit upon the jinn, and this book was born. We believe the jinn are a strong and active, but nonetheless hidden, presence in the world. They are not confined to the Middle East, the birthplace of the lore about them. They are known by many names, many guises, and many forms. Name any supernatural entity, even the ghosts of the dead, and you can fit the jinn behind them. We may think we are dealing with angels, demons, fairies, extraterrestrials and such, but we may actually be dealing, at least some of the time, with jinn in disguise. This does not negate the existence or reality of the aforementioned entities in their own right, but simply that the opportunistic jinn may take on appearances that fool us into interacting with them in specific ways. Are the jinn the answer to our paranormal encounters? We still do not know, but the evidence points to them being a significant part of our intersections with parallel dimensions and otherworldly realities that intrude into ours. The jinn are powerful and formidable, and at least some of them seem to have agendas that are not in the best interests of humans. This book examines the jinn from a variety of perspectives. We journey into the Middle East lore, which Phil experienced firsthand in his international travels, and into science and physics. We cover the Quran's position on jinn and the teachings of Islamic scholars, as well as Western law and interpretations of them. We explain jinn behaviour and characteristics. We give special attention to the relationship between jinn, demons, fairies and shadow people, hooded beings, elementals and extraterrestrials, types of entities where we have found some of the strongest evidence of jinn connections. As mentioned earlier, the jinn are everywhere, and in the course of researching this book, we discovered what we believe are some of their modern-day habitats right here in America. What are they doing in these pockets, pursuing covert operations, or have they retreated to remote areas because they wish to be undisturbed? Is it possible to have any meaningful relationship with them? We present our ideas on the intentions of jinn. Our desire in writing this book is to put the hidden ones in the light. Few in the West know about them. It is said that knowledge is power, and knowing about the jinn stands to benefit our understanding of the truth that is out there. Rosemary Ellen Guiley. So I'm going to be putting some of our friends' work on here. Nick Hayes. Also, I'm going to be putting a little bit of Ellie Marzulli and some Mr. BBB 333. It's going to be all jittery and things because I don't want to get some kind of strike for showing this. I genuinely want you to go and have a look at Nick, Ellie Marzulli and Mr. BBB, whatever. James Bartley as well. So there's going to be a bit of that going on. So introduction. There has been a growing interest in the paranormal in the past several decades. Ghosts, poltergeists, spook lights, demons, angels, fairies, shadow people, strange creatures and UFOs have become staples of movies and primetime television shows. Our attraction to the supernatural is more than a passing fascination. Claims of encounters with paranormal entities, such as those mentioned above, are not restricted to believers or wide-eyed dreamers. Accounts of sometimes frightening experiences are made by people from all walks of life. Credible people who report seemingly incredible things. I have been investigating paranormal phenomena with an emphasis on UFOs for more than 30 years. I have found myself amazed and sometimes even confused by the variety of reports I've received. I'd often ask myself, where do these phenomena come from and where do they go, and where do they go when they aren't seen? The answer to this question can now be answered by new ideas in theoretical physics. One of these new ideas states that our universe is composed of not one but multiple dimensions, some very close to our own and many far away in space and time. Periodically, several of those closer dimensions may interact with our world, resulting in the merging of several realities. My investigations over the years have led me to believe that what we call the paranormal takes on a variety of guises, making us humans think we are witnessing multifaceted phenomena. Actually, this may not be the case at all. In one of these other realities or dimensions close to our own is an intelligent ancient race that has existed before humans walked the earth, beings with great power who throughout recorded history have been identified by every culture. The Native American shamans call them the great tricksters, and to the Hindu of India they are known as deceivers. In the West they are called devils and demons. New Age spiritualists know them as the con men of the universe. This ancient race may be responsible for the majority of paranormal events witnessed over the centuries. We have known very little about them, for only one part of the world has historically documented them and their effect on the human race. Ancient Middle Eastern lore tell tales of the race of mysterious and highly intelligent creatures called the jinn. In Quran, a surah entitled Al-Jinn frequently mentions the jinn and refers to them as God's other people. The word jinn is thought to be derived from the Arabic root jannah, which means hidden, and should not be confused with the Arabic word jannah. The second one's got a H, which means paradise. In the West, the jinn are known as the genies of fairy tales, wish-given entities trapped in bottles, lamps and rings. The word genie usually conjures up exotic but harmless images, such as the 1960s television series I Dream of Jeannie, in which Barbara Eden played an obliging, well-meaning and often dizzy genie freed from the bottle by an astronaut played by Larry Hagman. Genie also had comical associations, such as in the Disney movie Aladdin. based on the tale from Arabian lore. In these depictions, genies may have a bit of prankster in them, but they seem benign, even helpful, and we in the West laugh at them. We have little knowledge and lack of fear of the real race of the jinn. Middle Eastern cultures have a considerably different view of the jinn, however. In many Islamic households, just speaking the name of the jinn will cause the bravest to flee in terror. They consider the jinn to be quite real and a great threat to humanity, causing misfortune, illness, possession and even death. The jinn hide in the shadows, biding their time and watching us, looking for opportunities to strike, interacting with humans only when it suits their purpose. They are powerful shapeshifters and can live for thousands of years. To cross the jinn is to invite destruction. My introduction to the world of the jinn began in the mid-1990s while I was travelling through the Middle East, researching the Knights Templar and their connection to the Holy Grail. After 2 weeks of what seemed to be nothing more than a wild goose chase, I began to hear stories about the jinn. At first I had no idea what they were. An old friend who later became my guide through some very perilous country there explained the jinn as the origin of the Western genie. Like many Westerners, I laughed, thinking of those jolly wish-granting spirits, while my host took the existence of the jinn very seriously. To him they were very real. The jinn's true nature and reality became evident to me as I collected a great deal of information on them and visited some of the places where they are reputed to enter our world. I realised they represent an aspect of the paranormal that had been largely untouched by Western researchers. I also realised the jinn could be the hidden source of the diversity of paranormal events everywhere. I briefly introduced the jinn in 2 of my previous books, Interdimensional Universe, The New Science of UFOs, Paranormal Phenomena and Other Dimensional Beings, and Files from the Edge, a paranormal investigator's explorations into high strangeness. Although I didn't go into much detail, I found the jinn attracted a lot of curiosity and attention amongst readers. Several years ago, noted paranormal investigator Rosemary Ellen Guiley and I began investigating paranormal hotspots in New York that generate a great number of reports relating to UFOs and other types of phenomena. We have been exploring the possibility that in many of these high strangest locations, portals that connect our world to an unseen world exist. When I mentioned my research to the jinn to Rosemary, she told me she was very interested in them due to her research into angels, demons, fairies and shadow people. After many long discussions, things began falling into place. We could see the connections among parallel dimensions, the emergence of paranormal phenomena and the race of ancient beings that exist in a reality very close to our own. During our research, we gathered evidence of the jinn in the Western Hemisphere and applied it to paranormal and UFO phenomena. The result is an interesting and compelling picture that raises many questions about what people are really experiencing. Are the jinn behind our paranormal encounters and experiences? Are they behind some of the terrifying experiences people report? If so, what is their purpose? According to ancient lore, the jinn once occupied this world and they seek to reclaim it. Are they using paranormal avenues to invade our reality? Is their reality merging with ours? We should consider all of these possibilities. There may be a dark agenda below the surface of our experience, and we fail to see it because we're preoccupied with the superficial characteristics of the experiences themselves. No one has a complete solution to this cosmic puzzle yet, but I believe we are offering a number of important pieces to solve the mystery. This book will take you on the adventure into the world of the unseen, hidden from us in the shadows for countless centuries. We present to you the truth about the race of beings you thought only existed in your imagination or your nightmares. If you choose to fear anything in your life, fear the jinn. Enter their world if you dare. Philip J. in Bromley. So that's the start. And I can hear Mark now waking up, so I'll do a bit more later.